For the first time in 5 years, lions go on display at the Audubon Zoo tomorrow.
Their new $5 million exhibit follows a trend in American zoos. John Snell explains in the King's Palace.
Meet Arnold, king of his domain. The 4-year-old Arnold doesn't like strangers.
Right now, there they are.
Recently, he met 3 from Peoria, Illinois. The 3-year-old triplets roam around their new digs in the zoo's African savanna.
We've built this starting around what is called a kopie. There are these big rock outcroppings in Africa that you see out on the plains. Lions often use them as a place to get up on top of the rocks to sort of watch out over their kingdom.
For another day, they have it all to themselves.
We constantly get questions about them, constantly are like, where are the lions? Where are the lions?
That includes Ella and her dad visiting a friend in New Orleans and treated to a sneak peek of the lions from the other side of a construction fence.
Somebody else told us, like, you can see him through the fence, and so we've been looking the whole way around, and she was very excited.
Audubon's general curator, Joel Hamilton, explains the lion exhibit takes the visitor to a different place.
The idea is it's an abandoned train station. It was found out in the savannah somewhere, and there was a couple of train cars left, and one is used by the researchers and the other one is used by the rangers who are studying the lions and the human impacts on the lions.
Those impacts and the loss of habitat have caused lion numbers in the wild to crash. The African Wildlife Foundation estimates by 40% in the last couple decades.
There's roughly 25,000 lions left in Africa, which sounds like a lot, but that percentage is way down from what it was historically.
In this setting, people and lions get up close and personal.
This one car where the rangers are, there's actually a porch on the car, which is actually where they would have put cargo and luggage and things like that, which the lions have access to. But this is brand new construction, even though it was intended to look like it's 100 years old. We had thematic painters come in and age it so that it looks very, very old.
It also follows a trend in zoos toward bigger, more complex exhibits with more to stimulate the animals mentally and physically throughout the day.
It's tough with the lion, of course. Most big cats, they sleep, 20, 22 hours a day. So we got to capitalize on those few hours that they are active and make sure that they're really good and active and roaming around this big, beautiful exhibit.
As with all big cats, special care must be taken to ensure the keeper's safety. Cameras keep watch. This also provides another layer of security. From 29 different locations, zoo curators and keepers can monitor what's happening inside the exhibit or inside the lion's night house 24 hours a day. Just to get inside, keeper Maddie Marullo goes through one entryway, then another lock with special color coding to tell her she's getting close to the lions.
The areas that they are actually physically in, they are all denoted with red tape.
It's almost like airlocks.
Yes.
It takes 4 locks with 4 separate keys to reach the lions. The animals are part of the Species Survival Plan among North American zoos, a sort of matchmaking program to breed often vulnerable species.
Hopefully in the future we will have some cubs.
For now, there's an adjustment period as the females and Arnold get used to one another.
It's not something that happens overnight. It's hard having new roommates.
There's something special about hearing a lion roar in the morning in the zoo. It really makes your day.
John Snell, Fox 8, Local First.
I think John scared him. Arnold is not happy with John. Visitors to any Audubon Institute facility can help lions in the wild. Tomorrow and Sunday, they can round up their purchases to benefit lion conservation. That's, wow.
I don't know if I could have gone in there.
Like that. John's brave.
Yeah, he is.
Sleeping 20 to 22 hours a day, though, huh?
What a night,
It's like David Bernard's life, right?
I wish.
I know.
If only we could all do that.
I know, no kidding.
The West Bank experiences a baby boom. The Audubon Institute is working to save endangered birds at its facility near English Turn.
But John Snell explains it requires a wardrobe change.
An hours-old whooping crane chick gets a house call from Dr. Robert McLean. The zoo veterinarian checks its vision for any heart issues and for the West Nile virus.
These are brand new, yeah. just out. So we want to make sure they get a good veterinary exam as soon as possible.
The chick, one of the first 2 of the season, gets a clean bill of health. Its parents at a national wildlife refuge had abandoned their eggs in the nest.
In this case, they got a plague of black flies, which were biting the adult birds so badly that they just ran away from the flies and left the nest, unfortunately.
So they were brought here to the Audubon Species Survival Center on the West Bank. Not so long ago, North America's tallest bird was clinging to survival, down to a couple dozen birds in the 1940s. Today, they number 600, thanks to intense conservation efforts like the one here. Audubon added the cranes after a federal facility closed last year. It was already breeding one of the world's most endangered birds, Mississippi sandhill cranes. That subspecies of sandhill crane is down to about 135 in the wild.
The only area in the world that they live is that small space in Mississippi, and I-10 was built through the center of it.
The 2 crane programs also highlight the changing role of zoos today. No longer simply places where animals are put on display.
There are many, many examples of where zoos and aquariums have partnered with government, federal government, state government, with private conservation organizations to save animals from extinction.
Dan Ash heads the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. The group says member organizations spend $220 million a year on conservation efforts.
But I mean, this is beneficial because you can see they get their heart rate going.
8 million species inhabit the planet. Scientists say 1 million of them are threatened with extinction by humans.
I think the average person in general is not aware of the magnitude of the problem.
On the West Bank, the human's costume, complete with movable puppet head, to prevent the young birds from imprinting on their keepers.
So if they come out of the egg and they look up and they see you standing over them, they're going to go, "Are you my mama?" To prevent that from happening, we hide. We never let them see a human while they're a chick in our care. We put on these costumes and have puppet heads that make us look like cranes so that they will know to go to a crane in the wild when they're released.
Here, the rewards come quickly.
In about 2 months, they look like an adult, other than maybe the coloring. So it's a very fast turnaround. You get to be fast moms.
A refuge in Mississippi takes the sandhill cranes. If all goes well, the youngest whooping cranes will get a new home in southwestern Louisiana this October. John Snell, Fox 8 Local First.
Between the 2 species, Audubon has 14 chicks this year, 6 of those raised by their parents, 8 of them by keepers in costume.
What? Yeah. Little trickery. Cool. Little trickery is good in this case.
Yeah, it's helping.
Tonight, the story of injured and unwanted animals who have found a new home.
And what makes this story so unusual is the special place near Covington where it happens. John Snell tells us about the barn.
Seymour the pelican lives in a rehab facility near Covington. Like most Louisiana brown pelicans, he spent his early years on a barrier island until an injury nearly killed him.
He had severe injuries to his right wing, which made him unable to fly to get his food.
Last year, Seymour came here for rest and rehab. Even today, he would not survive out in nature, nor would a host of others in this assorted collection of critters, from a possum to a pygmy owl.
For some reason, they have an injury that prevents them from being re-released into the wild.
Some of the couple dozen animals here were simply unwanted pets, but they have found a home and people to love them in a most unlikely place.
How's that feel?
Weird.
At Christ Episcopal School, Finn Todd gets some personal time with a snake.
It really allows them to see what animals are really like.
They call it simply the barn. Like a field trip on campus. Some older students actually help care for the animals.
It's really eye-opening to how these animals are a lot like humans. They have behaviors, they have quirks, they have their own personalities. And before, when I didn't know these animals, I never really thought of them like that. I thought they were just animals.
We learned that what animals eat what. Like, we know what to feed them, and how to take care of them, how to hold them.
I wasn't really prepared for the barn when I walked on campus the first time.
Headmaster John Morvand joined the school about 10 years ago after the barn was well established. It's part of the school's commitment to ingraining in students an appreciation of the natural world.
Y'all going to start at chapter 2.
The second grade curriculum includes lessons in the environment and conservation, in addition to the 3 R's.
We do it all, and we think that this is an important value for our students to learn and to live as it's something that they can bring with them throughout their lives.
The animals are important to nature because they're part of the ecosystem, and if we didn't have all these animals here, then we wouldn't have a functioning world.
How did this wind up on a school campus?
It started from Hurricane Katrina.
When animal rehabbers lost their facilities and Christ Episcopal took in a few homeless animals.
There just weren't any places for these baby animals to go.
Today, it's a licensed education facility for animals. They eventually converted an existing building into the predator-proof barn. Animals here serve as ambassadors for their species.
So I'll see if we can do both.
Margaret DeLoreal, a licensed rehabber, runs the program.
Everybody who saw these animals injured, they felt something of themselves, I think, in those animals. It's a community effort. We all come together to make this barn what it is right now.
And there was no master plan. It sort of evolved?
No, it evolved from a need during Katrina to the point now where we filled a whole bunch of different needs.
That takes commitment.
Well, we maintain it during the summer, during Christmas holidays, whenever we're off, there's somebody that comes every day to the barn to feed the animals, to clean up. So it is a rather expensive proposition.
Animals don't have a voice. They don't come with credit cards. They have no cash. They're looking at the help of others, the generosity of others to help them.
This is not a zoo. This is an interactive place. It's also a sanctuary for animals. We like to think of it as a sanctuary for people as well.
A chance for kids to get off the grid. No grades, no pressure.
I like how it's a place to just get away from everyone and everything.
Any sort of problems you have just kind of melt away.
This is the age of social media where things just go fast, fast, fast. And this is a place to just go slow, slow, slow.
Unfortunately, it's not cheap, cheap, cheap. Grants help offset the cost, and the school concedes it does consider the economics from time to time, but only briefly.
And I found out pretty early on that, I would not want to be the headmaster that closes the barn.
The barn, which saves these animals and gives back to the young and old members of the human species. In Covington, John Snell, Fox 8 Local First.
Any rehabilitation of animals takes place during the summer months when there are fewer people around the school. It's pretty awesome when you think about it.
It's a great program.
They're definitely fulfilling a need.
No doubt.
Yep.